We've come to Housesteads Roman Fort. This is the visitor centre and entrance. A little picnic area there. And the main car park. So this is where you would come to park. And then behind this building, it's a half a mile walk through the countryside to the fort and the museum. However, it's not really very suitable for wheelchairs, so we're going to drive up there. You need a special pass for that. And we'll see you at the fort.
Cause the fog on the Tyne is all mine, all mine. The fog on the Tyne is all mine. The fog on the Tyne is all mine, all mine. The fog on the Tyne is all mine.
We're in!
We're in! Woohoo!
To the special disabled parking.
Yep.
We've made it up the fort, and I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but I don't think I would have got Caroline up these hills. All the way along that path there. Some steep hills to get up here to the fort. But yeah, we're at Housesteads Roman Fort. We're going to have a look around that in a second, but first we're going to head into the museum. So we're in the museum, and for 26 years after the Romans invaded England, there was just treaties and all the tribes kept on going. But when they erupted into civil war, the Romans decided, right, we're coming up north, we're building a wall.
I was just about to say that's the goddess victory.
Here's a model of what this fort would have looked like. So we're going to enter here soon. There's lots of pieces in this museum. It's very noisy in here, so I apologise.
For 300 years, Britain was a Roman province. But a day came when many soldiers were called to fight abroad. In the reign of the emperors Honorius and Constantine, most never came back. In the year 411, the Romans and their gods abandoned this island forever. The empire was gone. The soldiers who remained with their families had to defend themselves with no help from anywhere. And so it was that this place, once known as Vercovicium, returned to the soil. Why?
So this is what Housesteads looks like from above, from an aerial photo. Obviously the main part being the fort. And then you've got Hadrian's wall running along the top there.
This is Felix. He's a recruit from the Roman army. He came from a place called Tungria, but here at Housesteads there are people from all over the known world. Look for me as you explore the fort with us. So Housesteads, also known as Vercovicium or Vercovicium, Sean, would you say? This is the best preserved of all the 16 forts of the Roman frontier of Hadrian's Wall.
So we've made it up to the actual fort, and again I just keep banging on, but that scenery, that view from the distance, in the distance. Got some good countryside around here, haven't we, Caroline?
Beautiful.
Very lucky.
Very green.
Yeah, I've still got to get you up this steep hill. Yes, I'm out of breath.
See Sean exercise.
See Sean exercise. Sean's going to have a heart attack.
He's pushing us up a hill. A
Up a hill?
really steep hill.
It's a friggin' mountain.
Excuse the language. He's doing really well. Sean has had a lot of exercise.
Oh my days.
I think you deserve a kiss for that.
Be big son. That.
So we've come to the heart of the fort, and I think Sean's heart's having palpitations. This is back. So what Felix is saying is that Roman soldiers would come to get orders to celebrate the gods of Rome, and would worship their own favourite gods at templates in the Viscus. So the headquarters are otherwise known as the Principia. It's basically where they used to have the ceremonies and symbolic heart of the fort. Basically where the regiments used to organise everything, and where religion was focused on. Sean's still struggling after pushing us up the hill. Courtyard now, Sean. Sean's still huffing and puffing. Do you think that was like a... I don't know what you call them. Oh, shook! Ow! Ow! I've just hurt my foot, and I think something fell off my bag there as well.
Oh, it is.
There's a little grey cloud up in the sky now, but it's still really warm.
There's Hadrian's wall.
Yeah, there's the wall in the distance.
Oh my days.
So what you're seeing in front of you now is the Bathhouse, which was actually a rarity to the Romans. And these changed quite a bit in the 280-year history of the fort.
This area here would have been the east gate, or the main entrance to the fort, leading straight into the headquarters building, which is to the left here. They were designed to impress, but this was a dangerous area, so close to all of those pesky Scots up there. That's why the Romans had this bathhouse just here, which was very much a rarity in Roman forts. It just didn't happen. So that leads us to believe that it was quite dangerous. I'm in the plunge bath. I need a bath after pushing you up that hill. This area here, slightly higher up, were the barracks. What you can see here are the remains during the last 100 years of the fort. They were all individual, much smaller chalets and buildings, whereas originally the whole length would have just been one communal barracks. You can see how things changed as time went on. We can see a little bit to the wall here. We're going to get closer to that in a second. Caroline's just over it. The Granaries.
So this is the Granaries, or the Horia.
It would have stored all of the food and the grain and wheat and everything else. So here is a visual representation of those barracks in the long low building, but here's something that you might not realise. The barracks were filled with a century of men. How many do you think is in a century? Let's ask Caroline. So Caroline,
Yes, sure.
these were the barracks behind us, and each barrack contained a century of men, of soldiers.
Yeah.
How many men was that?
100 years, so 100 men.
Nope. 80 men.
That's not a century. It's not a
8
century,
in each chalet.
right?
And right at the end, I'm not sure which end, their commander, who was called the Centurion.
Yes, I played a
Lived.
centurion in a play. We did a play on Romans, and I played a Roman soldier and a centurion.
But yes, a century of men was 80 plus the centurion who led them.
I've taken a walk down to the north gate, which leads on to Hadrian's Wall in the distance. I think he's trying to have a read up on his history. Nearly 40-year-old, and I've actually never really been up this way to any of the archaeological sites at Hadrian's Wall. I have done some a bit closer to home, but not. Oh, and running up a hill. Where are you getting all your energy
The
from?
north gate was the smallest gate here because it was the only one that opened out onto open land. So gradually over time it got smaller and smaller and less used. But this is where Hadrian's Wall joined it, and you can see Hadrian's Wall just there,
Yeah.
joining onto the fort.
Right there. Felix is back again. So in AD, or Anno Domini 122, Hadrian put his plan into action, and this is where the wall started getting built. So this is basically the edge of the wall, isn't it, Sean?
Sorry?
I was saying this is basically the edge of the wall.
Yeah, so when they were building the fort, when they were building Hadrian's Wall, they started to build turrets between all of the major forts. This was one of the turrets here, turret 36B. But before it was completed, they changed their mind and decided to build a big fort here. So they buried the turret and the bit of wall that had been constructed, built a fort on top of it.
What I'm intrigued about though as well, I've noticed these circles. There's one over there in the graph. There's one that's sticking
Circles?
over the back.
Oh, over there.
Circles, stones. I just wondered what they were.
Then-
They might have been round turrets.
No, I think they were, I don't know, we can look it up, but I think they were areas to keep cattle at night, little huts, or where they fed them, like grain and things like that. This really is a fantastic spot for a fort, although I'm complaining about the hills and getting up here. But you can see for absolutely miles, don't know how many miles, many miles. You can see the edge of the fort there. But you can see very far. I would imagine when it's not cloudy and not a misty day, you can see the coastline all the way along there on that side. I think the hills are in the way of the coast on that side, but and that's Kielder in the distance there. We're going to pop to Kielder at some point in the future and have a look around there as well. But we are... Yes, this is the other side of the granary that Caroline showed us earlier. This building here that I'm standing in, this was the hospital of the fort. In this area, somewhere around here, was the courtyard. No, Romans really looked after their soldiers. They were trained in first aid. And there was lots of covered walkways and large rooms, and they really looked after their sick and injured soldiers. Also had the toilets here as well. Although I'm not sure which one of these was the toilet, but this area here was the where the commanding officer lived, where his house was. The commanding officer was a nobleman. In Roman times it was called the Praetorium. And the guy who lived here was very rich. Should we get digging and see if we can find something that we can sell? Although we probably couldn't claim it here, I guess.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah. So that was a nice look around Housesteads Roman Fort, which I'm mightily impressed by, actually. I'm impressed with this one, like I am with Chester's.
I'm really pleased, Joe, because I know you're not really interested. You're not really interested in
Just
history
get me more
like I
interested in
am.
these things, but you know, it's quite interesting.
But I was brought up doing kind of things like this with King David and my mum and family. We used to go to castles and historical sites. I've never done these, so we're doing
And they're
it
hard to
together.
do in your wheelchair, let me tell you. Up and down those hills and the stones and the stairs. And,
Yeah,
oof. But anyway, we're doing it.
we're doing them together, and it's a first for both of us, so it's nice. And I feel sorry for him, but you've done really well. So
We've had a good time. We're going to pop along a couple of miles further along the road to get a better look at Hadrian's Wall itself.
Are you saying Adrian's like Adrian's?
Hadrian? Hadrian.
It sounds like you're saying Adrian.
Hadrian.
Hadrian.
Hadrian's Wall itself, which is a bit easier to get Caroline closer to because it's right next to the road. So we're going to pop along there, show you that in a second.
And we need to find
Something to eat and
some
drink.
nourishment, yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to show you that. So we'll pop along Hadrian's Wall and we'll see you there in a second.
So we're in the car on our way back to Newcastle. We tried to find the other part of the wall but couldn't. So that's something we'll have a look at on a different day. In fact, actually we've got a map that shows a lot more than we realised was there. So we'll check all that out. Now we're on the way back, as I say, home. Should be there in about half an hour.
Yep.
So
You realise that was literally the vlog on the Tyne there as we crossed the River Tyne.
haha, we were on the Tyne, vlogging on the Tyne. So until next time, keep making memories.
Catch you later.
The fog on the Tyne is all mine.